talk
What up?
about this masterful uh
Oh
comic that
shit.
I've been checking out. I got all three issues of
Nice.
all three of them. I don't know how I got tapped in with your stuff. I think somebody must have shared it on Instagram Live. I think it was might have been Tyrell Canyon. I think
Oh.
he might have shared it like the cover for issue number one, because I've got it when issue one first came out, and then I've been
Okay.
started following you from there. And I just was like, man, this is a super dope comic. Like just from the cover alone, for issue one, um, I was just like, wow, that's like super graphic and super like crazy. And then the colors were like popping too with the purples and the blacks. So, so let's talk about the Nosebleed. So, what was like the inspiration for that comic?
Wow. Nosebleed was just like this comic that I've just wanted to do for forever. Like I love like the psychic genre. I love like, Akira, Domu, Firestarter, Carrie, and I hate bullies. So I was just like,
Yeah.
how can I kind of figure out a way to mash the two together? I love like revenge tales. So it's just all three of those things just kind of mashed into one thing. I luckily got the opportunity to do it through this. I used to live in Philly, so there's a
Mhm.
blog out there called Philly Art Blog, and they hit me up to be like, "Hey, do you want to contribute to our comic section?" And I was like, "Yeah, I actually have this idea that I was just going to start pitching it around, but
Yeah.
they liked it, and I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it." So yeah,
That's dope. So were you were posting like pages like daily or like weekly, or how were you going about producing that and putting it out like through that blog or the news?
yeah. So it would come out 5 pages at a time, monthly. So I was doing that for like the first 2 years, and then actually like the last 3 years, and then they actually just shut down. But yeah, that had been my
Mhm.
schedule, was just like 5 pages like a month, which was
Nice.
pretty doable. Like it's like
Mhm.
not the worst schedule to be on. So yeah.
Did you like that process, like going through that web publisher compared to like thinking if you would have been able to pitch it to somebody else? Did you like going and doing that?
Yeah, I didn't have to really like I literally I sent them like the idea for it, and then they were like, "This sounds really sick. Can we see some pages?" And I drew up like the first 2 pages in a weekend and sent it over, and they were like, "Yeah, let's go." So it was kind of a dream scenario because I've pitched stuff before, and it's just like such a
Mhm.
nightmare. You either don't hear back or you do hear just like a no, and then you're kind of like, "Does this idea suck, or should I pursue this idea?" You know what I mean? It's just kind of
Yeah.
this shitty process that I don't really particularly love. So yeah, I definitely loved working with them. They like, and they were really cool. Like, they were just
Mhm.
like, I made it gory as hell, and they were
Yeah.
like, great. So cool.
Yeah, it really intrigued me when I first read it because of like it did remind me of Akira. It did remind me of Domu with like the psychic kids having his
Yeah.
powers, and then like the I think they get it from popping the pills, the drug aspect as well, which is
Yeah.
interesting because that is kind of like a like a homage to like Akira, where it has like that pill motif on the back of Canada's jacket, where it's like
Yeah.
good for you, bad for your education or whatever. So I think that's really interesting. Your artwork is like phenomenal as well. Like I
Thanks.
really just like the way that you have it in like the grayscale, which is the way I work on my own comics, because it's just simpler that way, at least for me. And then the just like I like the way you draw the characters like also with like the one eye, the not the one eye, but like the dot eyes. I think that's really like interesting, like characterization of your characters, where you're not trying to make too realistic, but it's also somewhat cartoony, but you kind of do a good mix of both of them. So like
Yeah.
what influenced you? Like what artists do you draw inspiration from, or you check out a lot that influences your style?
The dot eyes thing honestly came from, I wish I had the page hanging up, but like after like COVID, I had spent so much time trying to, do this like realistic style. And I did this one project called Give Me That Mummy, where I tried really hard to just like make everything look like real and gritty and just gnarly. And
Mhm.
after that, I just randomly just decided to just do this random page of, I was like, let me actually just try to just be like kind of cartoony, loose and fun. And I was kind of banging that out. And when I got to the eyes, like I've always kind of hated drawing like pupils, and then like
Yeah.
the whole structure of the eye is it's such a thing that's like it either looks cool as shit or it looks like you don't know how to draw eyes if you can't
Yeah.
nail that. And so I would always just find myself being so happy with just dots. And I threw some dots on a thing on the page and I was just like, yo, this shit looks sick. But like at the time I was trying to be like a work for hire. So I was like, no one's gonna hire me to do like dot-eyed characters.
Mhm.
So I kind of just put it in the back burner. But when this project came along, I was just like, you know what? Like, let me try this shit out. Like, let me just go for it. Like, let me just try it, because it's something that I really like. I'm like primarily from like an indie background. Like I really like indie comics, like Dan Clowes comics, Michael
Mhm.
DeForge, Charles Burns, and then I like a lot of like French comics, like Tintin. It's called Tintin here, but
Mhm.
Alfonso Font, Alain Dodier, and they kind of find ways to like kind of characterize their characters. So, but there's still like realistic proportions, but they'll do something weird in the cartooning of the face that kind of adds this like cartooniness to it. So this is kind of like me trying to kind of do that and trying to figure that out. And yeah, man, I mean, I love it. I mean, I'm glad to hear that you dig it too, but like it was
Yeah.
definitely scary because it's just like I don't want people to think I don't know how to draw eyes, but I'm also just like, you want to separate yourself from the pack, like
Yeah, for
um
sure. I think
yeah,
it's like one, I agree with you. Like I like underground comics more than I like mainstream comics because of that fact where everybody is so stylized and they're really unique on how they try to figure out how to make their stuff look different while also making it look proficient.
yeah,
Like it takes a lot of gall and like balls to like do the dot eyes, like and to make it look right because you can easily do that and it can come off as wonky or goofy. And the way you
yeah.
do it, because you could tell, a trained eye, at least somebody who like actually cares about the artwork, can tell like how to draw the face. You have the face structures and stuff together, right? Like there are people who will say like, I did a video on Scotty Young on my main
Yeah.
channel, and I did a deep dive of how like he went from like how he made just all this money and super popular off of this cartoony look. And there are people like, well, I don't understand why he's so popular. Like that's rudimentary drawings and cartoony. And it's like, no, you don't understand that how he was able to build up I'm sorry, he build up a style and then break it down to make it such a simplified, those cover motifs that are like ultra popular. Like if you go to like Heroes Con or any convention, Scotty Young's line is always full all day,
Oh
every
yeah.
day. He's probably coming home with bank every single time. And he's like like industry in his own, now because
Yeah.
of those covers. And so when you do that, it's harder than you think. People think it's easy, it looks simple, but it's like no, there's a rhyme and reason, a structure to the madness of like drawing in that way. And I really like that type of style, from reading underground comics as well. Like I read like Durf. Durf is one of my favorite cartoonists.
Oh yeah.
And he's like super duper dope. He is like great pen work. I think he uses brushes and stuff, and he also is like he's able to tell really serious stories with that type of style. I got
Yeah.
into like Joe Sacco recently with his Palestine book, and that book is really, really good. The way he draws, those his self and the cartooning in there is really, really uh good. So I mean,
That
I
was
feel like
brutal.
I wish people would get more into like underground stuff. Yeah, book is pretty brutal. It was tough to read, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I think that's another reason why I mean I like manga also because it does break down and simplify, especially like the shonen stuff. Is
Yeah.
real like easy to digest and easy on the eyes, but it also the ones who are able to do it masterfully um can tell like make that simple style work in a more like broader way. And I think you do that really well. I mean, I like this sequence right here where like I mean, are you do this is pencil? You didn't use any inks on these pages, like with this like dream-esque sequence?
Yeah. This is like
I like this a
all
lot.
like charcoal. Um
Oh, nice.
because I wanted like, this is supposed to be like the purgatory of the story. And I was on TCJ. Are you familiar with like the Comics Journal website?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So I was on there and they're kind of assholes, but they were ripping Charles Burns. They're like Charles Burns is a X'd out comic. It takes place in like one reality and then this like fictitious reality, but there's
Mhm.
no style change to really like sell that. And I read that and I was just like, damn, like, okay, like let me try to use this opportunity to really try and stretch and,
Mhm.
try something different to really show that these characters are somewhere else. Because if they're gonna rip Charles Burns apart for that, they're gonna tear my ass a new one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was like an experiment. I mean, charcoal's a pain in the ass to work with, but it kind
Yeah,
of
I
came
imagine.
out. I like how it came out. I definitely want to experiment with it more, but I like that when you flip through it, like physically, it is like this kind of juxtaposition um, going on there because everything else is kind of, like I like my normal kind of inky clear line style. But
Yeah, it's definitely like a jarring, and it definitely does take you out of it to
yeah,
like it does do a good job of showing like it is a different realm, it is a different place than where the main world is. I think is really that's really, really dope. So um how long have you been making comics and doing comics? Like I know this is obviously you could tell this isn't your first comic. So how long have you been like not even just making comics, but like being in art? Like are you professionally trained, you yourself taught, or you know?
yeah. I got into comics and art, everything really late. Like I always kind of like sketched as a kid, but I didn't really start drawing until I was 20, like, 2, and I'm 36 now. So, been drawing for, I guess, like 14, that's like 14 years. And yeah, just been self-taught the whole time. I was going to try to go to college for it, but it was so expensive that I was just like, I can't. There's
Yeah.
no humanly possible way I could afford this. So things like YouTube have helped. Things I got a shit ton of how to draw books. The cool thing about comics is that you can go to a show and literally the Tom Cruise of the comics industry is right there. And if they're in a good mood, they'll look at your work and tell you what you need to fix, what you need to improve on. So I've kind of relied on, a lot of critiques. All my friends are, Tyrell, Daniel Warren
Mhm.
Johnson, Ulysses Farinas, like all of my friends are these, titans of drawing, and they've all, don't hold back when I show them my work. And so that kind of stuff has really helped. And then I started drawing comics. I made my first comic in 2011 after reading, are you familiar with the Norwegian artist Jason?
No, I've seen his work because I was actually watching your interview with comics people,
Oh
and I saw
yeah.
you talking about that. And yeah, when you were showing the book, I seen I've seen that his art style before, but I've never really read any of his work.
Yeah. I mean, his stuff is awesome, but
Mhm.
it's a thing that when I show people it, they're just kind of like, really? Like, this is
Yeah.
what made you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, this shit's cool, man. It's simple. But after reading his stuff, I just jumped in. I was just like, I just went really hard with it. So that was like 2011. I started getting published pretty soon after that. I got a book. I did two like self-published books as like Kickstarters, and then after that, I
Nice.
started just drawing people's scripts because I wanted to like try to make money and make this like a career. In like 2014, I did a book with Boom, and then I
Mhm.
did a couple little things with like Archaea, and then pretty much from there, it's just been like drawing like pitches and kind of just hopping around drawing people's like independent stuff for a couple years, and then I kind of stopped doing that around like 2017, and just kind of like went back to just trying to find myself again after that, and then pretty much from like 2020 onward, I've just been like making my own stuff and just really trying to you know do that more because like I've always just like it's comics is like this weird thing where it's like it's called a collaboration, and this isn't any like trash in any like the writers that I've ever worked with or anything like that, but like you have to now work on this book for months.
Yeah,
These things don't take, if you want them to look good, they take a lot of time. So I kind of like was just like, I have ideas. I kind of want to like see these ideas out, and I can't really do that if I'm working on other people's stuff. So yeah,
for
I've just been
sure,
trying
for
to
sure.
just do my own shit now and just kind of, live and die by that sword.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. I'm in the same boat as you. I've definitely started drawing late too. I just started drawing like 4 or 5 years ago. 20,
Oh, yeah.
21, 22 also. I'm 27 right now. So I mean
Nice.
I drew a little bit in middle school. Like I did like I got into comics like in like 5th or 6th grade. I started
Mhm.
drawing in 6th grade, but then I stopped because I started playing sports and it kind of went to that whole like realm, and then I stopped playing
What
sports like
sport?
I was playing basketball. That was my
Oh, yeah.
shit. I still love basketball now. Like I'm an NBA fan. I watch NBA. I used to be like back then. I was like NBA, high school, college, all that. Like that was like Baller's Life was like that was not just like a brand. It was like my whole thing. You know, I was
Yeah.
that kid walking around basketball shorts under their jeans and shit. Like when the game
Yeah,
could pop
yeah.
up anytime. Type of guy. Played all the way from like 7th grade all the way to like my junior year. Then I quit, and then like after I graduated, and I kind of just like found other things that I wanted to do. Started like lifting weights, got like a real job, all that stuff. And then when the pandemic hit, I found my love of comics. And I always liked comics in between that time. I didn't stop liking comics or like art. I just never like drew anymore, but I was still like reading or keeping up with like some manga, anime, the MCU was coming up at the same time. So like superheroes became even more prevalent and more pervasive than they ever were.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit. I used to, lifting weights was like my other hobby I was doing a lot, and then I couldn't lift anymore. So I was like, I need to find something else to do. I thought I was gonna do like brands like streetwear. I was like kind of into that a little bit, but then I realized like I don't want to do that. Like it just the barrier entry is just too expensive, and I just don't want to like do that. So I was on Instagram and I saw somebody post one of Simon Hanselman's the disaster zone that he was doing on Instagram for a long time on their story. And I went to it and I was like, oh man, people are doing Instagram comics. Like what the hell? So I figured out I'm going to do that. So I made my Instagram that I have now. And then at first I was doing like on like a little sketchbook. And then I found out, there's an app, Procreate. I found out Procreate, got an iPad, and I went from there. And then now I've just been drawing ever since pretty much, and just doing like my own comics. Like I started off doing like a comic on Instagram. Like you scroll all the way down to my like early post on my Instagram. It's like a web comic I was doing. And then I moved on like to doing like digital comics. And then now I'm doing like all my own shit, like printing out comics. I did a Kickstarter for my most recent stuff. And I'm in the same boat as you. It's like I don't really Yeah. That was my most recent thing. And then but yeah, I just kind of, and I found like a group. I'm like do a lot of collaborations, but most of the collaborations I do are just like one pagers here and there, and then stuff like that. I haven't like I like to write too, so I just write and draw my own shit, and I just and that's kind of just coming from like liking anime and manga, and I kind of realized, they tell you like, all these manga, they do it themselves. Well, and in America for some reason, a lot of especially in the mainstream, a lot of the artists and writers don't, which I find kind of interesting. But like all the people you run with or hang out with, they all write and draw their own stuff. And so like Danny Ward Johnson's like one of my favorites. I've met him a few times. He's a really dope guy. So that is funny, drawing late, but I think it doesn't really matter when you start. I think it just matters the amount of dedication you put into it. Because if I look at my artwork from when I first started to now, it's like night and day. And that's because I just draw all the time. Not all the time, but I draw pretty much every day. Like once my kids go to bed, like at 8, from 8 to like midnight, I'm just at the drawing board or the iPad or whatever, busting up pages or doing pinups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, comics is a funny field because it is so vast and wide, and there's so many different genres you can dive into, and like, it really takes you to different places depending on what you read and the type of stories you want to tell. Like, I'm really big into like sci-fi and horror comics, but also like superhero comics are kind of like, I like superhero comics just for like the art. Like if an artist that I like is on, like Danny Ward Johnson's doing something on my picture. Like I picked up the Transformers stuff. I'm not a Transformers fan, but I just because I wanted to check out his stuff. Ed McGuinness is one of my favorite artists. Ed McGuinness to me is like the pinnacle of like comic book art, like all this stuff he's done is just like, that's what everybody should model. If they're doing comic book art, like superhero artwork, that's what they model. That's who I think they should model themselves. Him and like Art Adams are like my favorite. Like
Ed McGuinness fucking slaps, yo. Like,
yeah, dude rules,
not a
man.
guy that a lot of people talk about either. Like, I feel like he's like one of those quiet dudes that just like works. But
yeah, I mean, I think because he's just like with Marvel now, and he just kind of just does like the super mainstream stuff. I really wish I would love to see something he would do in his own creation, because I think the type of stuff he's so comfortable in, like that pocket. I would love to see him do like something else outside of like superhero stuff to see what it would look like, because he is such a like fluid style that just really works in superhero stuff. Like he like mastered that aspect of it. I would love to see him do some more other stuff. But like when I first read his the Red Hulk stuff, like in middle school, I just loved that stuff. I stuck to it. I still have like all my old comics. I have like bought the trade when they put out the master trade, all this. I just love his stuff. And him and Art Adams, who doesn't do anything anymore, but I love all of his old stuff. Like I found him back in middle school as well. And then John Romita Jr. But then like I started finding all the underground guys a lot, like the last couple years. and that's been really like eye-opening and stuff. Like I love the storytelling in the indie stuff a lot, because it just like, especially like the memoirs and the slice of life aspects and stuff, they kind of like open another aspect of my brain. It's like, oh, I can, tell a story this way. And the way they like, I like the slice of life stuff, because the way they make that stuff entertaining and keep you in there, it's really interesting to see how they do that, where they're not relying on punches or like crazy fight scenes. Is like they're making these conversations I don't even know what the word, like making you stay entertained with it and keep you going and want to keep reading it. And also I still in manga, all that stuff too. But let me see. So one thing that I really like about your artwork is when you do those commissions with the gouache paint. I'm just like, I'm very fascinated how you make it look like cell shading, and like how you make it look like an animation. So when did you start getting into doing that, and like, getting to that style, and getting, and making all those paintings and stuff like that? What influenced you to do those things?
That was like this year primarily. Like I'd always fucked with like watercolor, but like I have a heavy ink hand, so it's like I would do watercolor stuff and then I'd ink over it, and it always just looked weird. And this one dude commissioned me when I was living in Chicago. He was like, "Can you draw Beast Wars, but the trans metal kind of version of them?" And I had always heard about gouache. I heard gouache was like watercolor, but it was like very like opaque and vibrant. And so I was just like, all right, let me try it with this. And like, I'm going to actually try it. I've always wanted to try to do like cell shading stuff. And I did it on that commission, and I was just like, yo, this is like it. Like, this is how I want to paint from now on. It's just like cell shading. Cause like when you're trying to do like watercolor or just like any kind of form of painting, they always tell you like, look at the masters. Or like, I would look at like, like Rembrandt and Sargent and Norman Rockwell and all that stuff. And like, that stuff is sick, but it really relies more on the paint to do the work. And I love ink. Like, I think ink is just like, I can't not do a piece that has ink on it. So it just always looked weird. But with cell shading, I was just like, okay, you can still cell shade and you can still throw heavy ink on that. And it just kind of like, it just worked out. And yeah, man, like I luckily, like, yeah, people fuck with it. Yeah, but it's just been, I mean, I'm a huge anime nerd. Like I grew up on, anime stuff and like OVAs and everything. So this whole weird thing with like my art practice is just like liking the stuff that I like, but also kind of being afraid to like pursue it for some odd reason. And like this whole like last couple of years has just been like, or just try it. Like, like just see what happens. And if it sucks, it sucks. You can, find a different style. But I really lucked out with the cell shading thing. And it's also just, it's a funner way to paint. Like, like I just finished this guy. So much easier to just lay down like a flat color knowing that you're going to be inking over it, right? Or like you can do like a couple little pieces of shading here and there, but like knowing that like the ink is going to still come in here and do most of the heavy lifting. It's just like all I have to do is just figure out like a palette, It's so much easier than trying to do like all these like half tones and middle tones and different types of lighting that you can kind of get into with painting. It's like the easiest way, bro, like, to approach paint. So yeah,
that shit is dope, man. When I see you post those on Instagram, I'm just like, dude, like how is he getting that effect? Because I'm definitely like, outside of comics, I really like, same as you, like I love watercolor.
Yeah.
But for some reason I'm like color dyslexic or something, because every time I try to like color stuff, it just comes off weird to me. I haven't really studied color theory enough, maybe is my problem, but I can work with one tone. Like I can do grays, and I can figure out how to do the shading with the grays and stuff like that. Like one color, if it's like grays, blues, things like that. Those are things like I've been trying, like all my comics I do gray tones on, and so like the more I've done it, the more I've learned how to like do gradients with it and like make it look right, and 3 different tones. It kind of really works with me.
Yeah, you do like half tones and stuff too, which looks cool.
Yeah, I do a lot of half tones, and like did most of my half tones on my pages are digital, and then I'll do traditional ones too. But that just takes a long time to cut it all out and paste it on there. So I try not to avoid it a little much. But what I've been like, about a month ago, I don't know if you know Ink Pulp podcast, with Sean Crystal and Jama Food in them. They do like a live stream one, and they had Wes Craig on there who does Kaya, and I saw him. He has a YouTube channel, so I went to his channel, and he does like watercolor on his pages. He just says one color is like a blue, and I was like, bro, that's what I want to do. Like I want to learn how to ink wash. Like that was like another thing. Like once I figure out like my style, my all that stuff, I want to start ink washing a lot. Like I love that. I love the texture you can get out of it. I love the feel. And that's something that kind of is in my wheelhouse of like using one color, using one tone and stuff like that. So I've been trying to like, I got like some watercolors, and I've been kind of like fucking around a little bit. Like when I do like pinups and stuff, I got like these pencil, just like, you know, some random stuff. And I bought a couple brushes from Michael's, and just like every once in a while, I'd like bust out the brush and just start going crazy, and then go from there. Like I want to do like my next comic in that style. So I'm just trying to like slowly like get in there.
Yep.
But
what kind of paper are you using?
So I have different ones right now. I have like, so with the pinup that I'm doing, I got just like this printer paper, and it's like 11 by 17. It's double ply, and it's like super cheap. Like you can get like 200 pages for like $20.
Okay.
So I don't use Bristol board or anything like that. Or it is Bristol board, but it's not like the Kansan or whatever. But I just bought a pad of the Kansan watercolor things to see if it feels different. You know, I know people talk about like vellum and watercolor paper kind of feels different when you ink it and stuff. So I'm gonna try to fuck around, but like this is, like I said, it's $20. You get 250 pages of 11 by 17. You can't beat that. And it takes water pretty well. Like it doesn't like fold or like, you know, mess up because it's double ply. So and it holds ink really well also. So that's what I've been kind of using. So I just been trying to keep it as efficient as possible. But